In this video, I'm going to show you how to start making music and how easy this process can be. My name is Don. I'm an Ableton Certified trainer in Bangalore, where we teach people how to express themselves through the music they make. I've already made some music. It took me just 5 minutes, so let's give it a listen. So that was a small section of music that I just made. I'm using a software called Ableton Live, which is a digital audio workstation, or DAW, and that's a software we use for manipulating audio using digital instruments or just making our music. So let's jump in and start making something. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control End or Command End if you're on Mac and start a new project. And now we have a blank Ableton Live project where we can start making music. Now the first thing you'll notice is we have these vertical columns. Now these vertical columns are where we're going to manage our sounds from. They could be our instruments, our recorded audio, or anything in between. For today, we're not going to look at recorded audio, we're only going to look at MIDI instruments, so we're only going to use MIDI tracks. So I'm going to go ahead and delete my audio tracks. Now the first thing I want to do is create a drum beat. Drums sound good, it's a great way to start. So I'm going to go ahead and in my category section, I'm going to click on my drums, and you can see I have a bunch of drum kits over here. And I already have a drum kit that I like. When I click on it, I hear a preview of that drum kit. I'm just going to go ahead, drag and drop the drum kit onto the track. Now once that happens, this is like having a drummer with me right now. So I have a drummer that's ready to play. I just have to tell the drummer what to play. So I'm going to go ahead and double click in this empty area over here, and I create something called a clip. Now a clip contains all my playable information. Anything in this clip will be played by my drummer. In this instance, it's going to be my digital instrument, which is the drums. Now at the bottom over here, you can see a list of my different drum sounds. I can turn on this preview button, click on the different keys, and I can actually hear my different drum sounds. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to lay out my drum kit over time. So an easy way to do this is to start with something called a 4 on the floor pattern. Now a drum pattern is nothing but how drums are played over time. And a 4 on the floor pattern is probably the most common pattern you can hear. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a kick at the beginning of every beat. And I'm going to choose my snare, and I'm going to put it at the beginning of every other beat. Now, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, that means you probably need to learn a bit of music theory. And if you need help with that, there's a link to a video that I've done on music theory that'll help you get started in the description below. So now that I've added these sounds, these drum sounds, I can go ahead and click on my play button and listen to my sound. Right, this is probably the most common drum beat you would have heard in a lot of electronic music, pop music, and even hip hop music nowadays. From here, I can now start editing this drum beat, change the sounds around, and make it my own drum beat. So I can just go ahead and move my kick. Right, so as you can see, just from a basic 4 on the floor beat, I'm now getting more complex beat. I can go ahead and add in some hi-hats. So I'm just going to go ahead and add them on every alternate 16th or every alternate point. And I'm going to just duplicate that by using Control D or Command D. Let's give it a listen. And if I want, I can start filling in some of these gaps. Right, and I have a very simple drum beat right now. Now you can keep going crazy with this, add more sounds to it, but you can really make your own drum beat. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to add something called harmony. Now harmony is nothing but when multiple notes are played at the same time, and I'm going to show you what that means. So first thing I'm going to do is I need to find an instrument to play my harmonies. So I'm going to go to my categories, I'm going to go to sounds. And in my sounds, I'm going to go to basic suitcase DI. I like how that sounds. I'm going to drag and drop this onto my track. So now I have my piano player ready to go. Now I have to give him his commands and tell him what to do. So I'm going to follow the same process. I'm going to double click, create a clip, And now if you notice at the bottom, I have what are keys of a keyboard, right? And each key, if I play it, if I just click on it, I can hear these different keys. Now, what I'm going for over here is I want to make something called harmony. Now, harmony is when I play multiples of these keys at the same time and they sound nice. Now, you have to know which of these keys sound nice together. An easy way to do that is by using the scale function. So I'm going to turn scale on, and I'm going to choose an A minor scale, because I like how an A minor scale sounds. Now again, if you're not well versed with music theory, you don't have to worry about it. Ableton Live will help you with these kind of scale functions and a lot of other functions in Ableton Live as well. But if you want to know more about music theory, again, I have a video on music theory that you can check it out. The link is in the description. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start adding in notes of my chords. So the moment I enable the scale function, you've noticed that there are a bunch of notes that are highlighted. What this basically means is these notes work well together, they sound well together, and I can actually layer them over each other and they'll harmonize and they'll sound nice. So I'm just going to go ahead and double click, and then I'm just going to extend this note, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip one of the highlighted notes, add a note. I'm going to skip another highlighted note and add a note. And now when I play this, I'll hit the play button. Right, you can hear how those notes come together and it sounds really nice. Now if I feel like the pitch is too high, I can select all the notes. I can hit shift down, be on a lower octave. Right, sounds pretty good. I can also increase the length of my clip. Over here I have length. Right now it's set to 1 bar. I can set it to 2 bars. And now I have a longer length for my piano. So I'm just going to go ahead and extend these notes. And I'm going to add in a couple of other chords. So I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this over, moving it around with my keys. And I'll just adjust my notes to make sure that they're in key. I want to make sure that they're in the highlighted area. And I want to put one more chord in the end over here. And I'll probably make this a C. Right, and if I want to now adjust volume, I can also adjust volume between my different tracks by just moving these faders. Sounds pretty decent now. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to add a melody. Now a melody is when multiple notes play one after the other. This is a great way to add a storyline to your music and give it some dynamics. Now how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go back to my categories and I have to go ahead and select an instrument. So I'm going to go ahead and choose synth lead. I'm going to scroll down. I already have a lead set for me over here. And all I'm going to do is drag and drop this into an empty section. And it automatically loads that instrument onto an empty track. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double click. And I have a clip with my scale already preloaded. When I click on the notes, I can hear all my notes of that instrument being played. So now all these notes work well together. And remember, a melody is single notes after each other. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some notes. And let's listen to it. Now this is a pretty decent melody line. Now you can keep playing around with this. You can extend note lengths. Right? If I want to make notes a little longer in between. And this is also a great way to inspire yourself. If you don't know what to do for a melody line, you can always use a scale function and find the exact notes that would help with your melody. Now, another easy way to make a melody is I'm going to load another piano sound over here, that same retro lead sound that I used before. And I'm just going to go ahead and take the clip from my chords and copy it over to my new track. I was holding control and copying it over so it copies and doesn't cut it. It doesn't just take that clip out. I'm also going to turn off my previous melody that I just made. And on this basic retro synth sound, I'm just going to use something called an arpeggiator. So I'm just going to go into my MIDI effects. I'm going to take an arpeggiator and drop it onto this. I'm going to play and listen to what happens. So you can hear how the arpeggiator is actually just repeating sounds from my chords. So I have the chord notes laid out. So if I double click on this, you can see all my chord notes. But when I play, you can hear that it's playing one note after the other because an arpeggiator plays single notes. So it can actually arpeggiate your chords. I can change the rate and the gate, which will change how fast it plays or how fast the repetitions are and how long the notes are. And if I feel like my melody is too loud, I can always bring down the fader. Right, so I have two interesting melodies over here. I have this one that I just made. And I have this arpeggiated melody as well. So interesting ways to make some melodies. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bass line. Now bass is a form of melody that gives this really nice low register sound that fills in your track. So I'm just going to go to my sounds. I'm going to find a bass sound. So I already have one that I've pre-selected. And I'm going to drag and drop it onto my project like that. Now as with before, I'm just going to go ahead and create a clip. And by default, I can already see the scale that is selected. And I'm going to start on a register that is much lower. So instead of A3, I'm going to go much lower. Right, A1 sounds good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting in some notes. So I've put in those two notes. I'll put in one more over here. Let's listen to what that sounds like. So that sounds pretty decent. First thing I want to do is I want it even lower. So I'm just going to hit Shift and down just to drop it by another octave. So it goes lower. Now it sounds nice and low, but it sounds a little boring because it's starting with everything. You can see it's starting at this position over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it over by 1 unit and let's see what happens. That sounds nice. So let's just go ahead and I'm just going to keep it very simple. And let's just put some gap between this so we can hear it. And we'll just bring down the volume. And there we go. We have a very basic musical section that we just created, and it doesn't take a lot of time. Now, this is just a basic section of music we created. From here, we can take this and build an entire song. And if you want to learn more about that, click on the Learn More button below, where you can find out about our free courses with Nikhil, where he'll teach you how to make this into a full song, or you can even join a live class with him. We have free and paid online courses for all types of users. And you can schedule a call with me and talk to me directly. Just visit our website and click on the Schedule a Call button, and we can talk about our courses and what suits you. You can also join our free online platform, which is a network of artists, trainers, and students where we discuss different subjects. There are free courses and workshops that you can join, and so much more. As always, if you like the video, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and click on that bell icon so you can get notifications whenever we have live streams or whenever we post new content. Thanks for watching, happy learning, and hope to see you soon.